very familiar names on the list. Thank you, Neil. So welcome to our first gathering of the Arts and Culture Caucus, a caucus of the Delaware General Assembly. We are about 5 years old now. For anyone who is new to our work. And our focus has been to do everything that we can to make sure that we have a legislature that is educated on the arts and cultural resources and opportunities that we have here in our state to make sure that we are able to take, the types of legislative action to best support that creative economy. We're really proud of the work that we have done so far, and that's Representative Brian Shoup and I founded this together as a bipartisan, bicameral entity, and I think that that's been really fruitful. So in just a couple of minutes, you're going to hear about some of the things that are actually happening and being delivered on through the work and awareness raising of the caucus, and probably more importantly, through the advocacy of the many working artists who have become extraordinary advocates, particularly under the auspices of the Delaware Arts Alliance, with whom we partner to stage these caucus meetings, and they do a wonderful, wonderful job. Neil Kirschling, say good morning. Make sure everyone can see and hear you if they don't
Good
know
morning,
you
everybody.
already. I'm just going through the list here. I'm going to call out the legislators who I know are currently in the room. I see Representative Kamala Smith. I see Senator Bryant Richardson. I see Representative Mara Gorman, Senator Marie Pinkney, and I see numerous members of our staff as well. And I also see Nick Merlino with the governor's office, who I know is going to be offering some comments in the third part of our agenda as well. But we are going to go
And
ahead
Senator
and,
Huxtable, I just let in two
oh,
seconds ago. So one
Senator
second after
Huxtable,
you introduce legislators.
stalwart supporter of arts and culture as well. So that's good. Um, we're recording this as well so we can share it with others of our colleagues. But thanks so much to those of you who are making the time to be here. We do not take that lightly. So really appreciate it. And we are going to get started. I'm going to hand the mic over to our wonderful Delaware Division of the Arts Director, Jessica Ball, to talk about some updates since the 2025 session, and some of the wins that we feel that the caucus was able to secure. So Jessica, you ready to go?
Everyone. Thanks for joining us on this March 2nd. Just a quick plug, if you haven't gotten your annual DDOA grant applications in yet, today is the day. So hopefully you already have hit submit on those buttons. But if not, we are here answering questions until 4 p.m. today for folks that are needing any technical assistance. So thanks for that quick plug. All right, we'll get started, Andy. Um, I know most of you know this, but for those of you that don't, we are a state arts agency. We are within the umbrella of the Delaware Department of State, and we are committed to supporting the arts and cultivating creativity to enhance quality of life here in Delaware. There are state arts agencies all around the country. Every state and jurisdiction has arts agencies that were created by legislatures and governors in order to reduce barriers to the arts and to increase cultural participation by our citizens. We know that there is a place for government and arts because our communities need the arts. We're healthier communities when we're participating in the arts. We're more civically engaged in our democratic process when we're engaged in the arts. And so there are agencies all over the country, just like ours here in Delaware. We're very excited to be working with the Delaware Arts Alliance on implementing recommendations from the CREATE plan. And there's a transition happening. So things that we've started on so far. Um, Are you all seeing a weird
Yeah, sort of two slides.
slide situation? Okay. It's not just me.
We did do a tech run. Oh, I promise. That's the best part.
We did. We did.
Of course, it always happens.
While Annie's getting the slides up, if folks haven't had the chance to introduce themselves in the chat so that we can know who's in the room, please feel free to do so.
Thanks, Neil. It's a good mix. And just, yeah, as a heads up too I noted what legislators were here, but definitely take a peek in the chat and see um, some of the wonderful representation we have of our arts community as well.
And if you're experiencing technical difficulties and we want to jump to the next thing on the agenda, just let us know, or if you want to keep troubleshooting.
I think let's go ahead and do that, Neil, uh while Andy's troubleshooting. Let's go ahead and skip to the next thing on the agenda and then circle back to
Circle
us.
back.
Thank
No
you.
Okay,
problem.
Sorry.
no worries.
Well, luckily we have a full agenda, so that is easy to do. We have Lauren Conrad with our Delaware Department of Education. She's the Education Associate for Visual and Performing Arts, who is going to speak to us about the career pathways in the creative economy legislation that was passed last year.
Thank you so much, Senator Lockman. Let me queue up my slides, and they seem to want to be temperamental too, but we're going to hope that we can go on business as usual because Monday is coming in very strong. So let me go ahead and present. Okay. So it appears as though the only way this is going to work is if you have to see the preview screen, for which I apologize profusely. But this is the way Monday is going to go for us this morning. So again, thank you to Senator Lockman and Representative Shoup and all members of the Arts and Culture Caucus for having me today to talk about the Senate Concurrent Resolution 109 report. This was my first opportunity to work for the Department of Education to embark upon researching and composing a report for the General Assembly. I am grateful to have the opportunity to collaborate with colleagues from the Department of Labor's Office of Labor Market Information and Apprenticeship, the Workforce Development Board, the Division of the Arts Alliance, and many of our arts and cultural industry representatives from across the state of Delaware. Our local education agencies, our post-secondary institutions, all to help provide findings and recommendations toward furthering opportunities for students in Delaware who have interest in pursuing college and career in the creative economy. Senate Concurrent Resolution 109 was passed in June of 2025, and work began immediately convening the stakeholders mentioned previously. Our group met every other week from August through December, capturing requests set forth within the resolution and learning more about how our agencies operate. I believe that was one of the most beneficial components of the process. Key findings you will note here fall into three primary categories: workforce data, career pathways themselves, and career readiness. It is important to note that under Delaware Education Regulation 505, all students graduating from Delaware public high schools must have a pathway to graduate, which is defined as 3 consecutive courses in a specified area. Currently, we have pathways that fall under career and technical education and pathways that are considered academic pathways. Under the Career and Technical Education umbrella, or as we fondly call it, CTE, those are state agency approved pathways called Delaware pathways. Follow me, folks. There's a lot of the word pathway happening in this moment. So they are called Delaware pathways, and you can find all of them at delawarepathways.org. These pathways are based upon criteria set forth through state and federal legislation around career and technical education, which includes occupations that provide medium-high skill, medium-high wage, and high demand within the state of Delaware. This data is informed through labor market information using standardized occupation codes, or SOC codes for short. Academic pathways are local education agency driven pathways, which typically include anything that might fall within the arts: music, theater, dance, visual art, media art. There are a few creative economy careers that already fall under CTE. One of them is digital communications technology. While most of our LEAs provide pathways for students interested in the arts or creative fields, they may not provide the same opportunities as those that fall under the career and technical education umbrella, inclusive of the work-based learning continuum, portfolio requirements, etc. These vary by LEA. So continuing with the findings you see on your screen, it's important to note that we discovered that because the CREATE plan did the work to highlight and articulate Delaware's creative economy and industry, we noticed a discrepancy between the data that was reported in the CREATE plan and the data that is reported within the standardized occupation codes from the Department of Labor. We learned that the CREATE plan utilized North American Industry Classification System codes, whereas the Department of Labor utilizes standardized occupation codes. The NACE codes capture and classify industries, whereas the SOC codes classify and capture occupations. CTE determines eligibility pathways using SOC data. We also learned that in many of our LEAs, pathways and career decisions are beginning as early as middle school, and potentially student access to some of the arts programming may be inconsistent. We also learned that pathways may not provide entrepreneurial or financial literacy competencies, which would be tremendously beneficial to contracted and gig employed individuals. Finally, we learned that there could potentially be barriers due to scheduling conflicts as well as inadequate exposure to creative career opportunities dependent upon local education agency. There also may be work groups across the Department of Ed who support career advising responsibilities with no central coordination mechanism. Therefore, 10 primary recommendations surfaced as a result of this work. You will see that they fall into three, again, primary categories. Once again, you see career readiness, workforce agencies, and data systems. Under career readiness, ensure all public high school students access high-quality CTE programming that incorporates creative careers. Strengthen employer representation in program advisory committees. The second is to expand work-based learning to access to non-CTE students via new early experience course and consider a state-approved arts seal. The third is to establish a formal DDOE approval, quality criteria, and data reporting system for non-CTE pathways. The fourth is to reinstate Rethinking Middle Grades funding, extend career exploration to begin no later than grade 6, and hopefully add one full-time employee to the CTE work group for college and career navigation. Under workforce agencies, the Delaware Workforce Development Board to develop a short list of creative economy candidates for board membership as vacancies arise. For the Department of Labor to engage creative sector employers in registered apprenticeship development per Executive Order number 1. The third, to introduce legislation to ensure sufficient human and fiscal resources to sustain registered apprenticeship programming. And the fourth, the Department of Labor, Division of the Arts Alliance, and Department of Education develop a creative economy career awareness strategy and resources for educators, counselors, and their families. And finally, under data systems, to augment the data framework with supplemental sources, workforce surveys, job posting analytics, census self-employment data to better capture creative economy employment, and establish a reoccurring creative economy labor market consultation process tied to biennial comprehensive local needs assessments and programs of study reviews. That was a lot of information in a very short period of time, and there will be many more opportunities to learn more. The next being our Arts and Culture Caucus meeting on March 19th in coordination with March for the Arts. I will do a similar presentation that day, diving a bit deeper into some of the things already happening across the Department of Education. I look forward to collaborating with the partners involved in this work to continue efforts to provide and expand opportunities for students interested in creative careers across the state of Delaware. And again, I thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. I don't know if we have time for questions, but questions if you have them.
My first question,
Okay.
Senator, I know this report was delivered to the caucus. Is this online anywhere that we can share out and so people can read the full report and process it and come to March for the Arts for like that deeper discussion? Or is it on the Department of Ed's website, Lauren, do you know?
It is not housed on our website.
But it sounds like maybe that's something we could get and share out with our mailing list. I think so. So we will do that. And in just it's 16, 17 days, we look forward to hearing the even more from you. Thank you for that, Lauren. Jessica, we're going to hand it back to you.
Thanks, Senator Lockman. Neil or Jordan, if you could give Izzy from my team access to be able to share their screen.
I have not received access yet.
We made you a co-host, so shows on our end that you are a co-host. There we go.
Here we go.
Perfect.
Thanks, Izzy. And actually, if you could go back one or so slides. Okay, right. So we were we were about to talk talk about the create plan recommendations that we've already launched into. So next slide, Izzy. Go ahead next. All right, so we've definitely honed in on several of the create plan guidelines over the last year or so. Including creating fair pay guidelines for artists, emphasizing arts and culture in our Delaware tourism communications. We have been identifying and pursuing additional revenue streams and advocating for more pathway courses. We've been hosting professional development workshops and lectures, and we did do a pilot where we did a pilot on really promoting DelawareScene.com. So I just want to talk a little bit about some of these. We've been through the development of our creative aging and creative veterans classes. We've really started to develop fair pay guidelines, particularly for teaching artists, and paying teaching artists a really good livable wage for working in the state of Delaware. Um, we have been in constant communication with Delaware Tourism, and the Secretary of State is looking for ways to maximize Delaware Scene and really have Delaware Scene become the household name that it can be for multiple of our state agencies, including tourism. When we did a pilot annual marketing campaign to promote Delaware Scene. We saw an incredible amount um, of response to that. Uh, Visits to the site went up over 100%, as did click-throughs. So, we're seeing people returning to the site and using it as a tool, and clicking through to individual organization websites as well. The division has been applying for national grants, particularly around creative aging and creative veterans initiatives. So we're happy to report that we've secured additional revenue streams for the next 2 years to pay for our creative aging classes and our creative veterans classes, that don't come from the state and don't come from state sources. So it's nice to be bringing in that outside money. We've definitely been upping our professional development workshops and lectures. I'll go into that a little bit more, but particularly for artists and individual creatives last year. Go to the next slide, Izzy. So I'm sure most of you know because we've tapped most of you for your involvement in these things, but we've been on quite a listening tour. We started over the summer last year doing a listening tour related to our grants, and we are doing a full evaluation of all of our grant programs by a third-party consultant. They've done community listening tours, they've done surveys, and their report is coming back to us now. We are also, that's kind of the qualitative piece of it. We also handed all of our grant making data over to the National Assembly of State Arts Agencies research team, and they're doing an extensive quantitative review of all of our grant making practices. And we are working with an additional third-party consultant to look at options for retooling our formula, our GOS formula. That's happening right now. We are also in the midst of our strategic plan field work for our strategic plan that will launch in July of 2026 and will take us through the year 2030. Any changes to our grant making that come out of this third-party analysis of our grant programs will not go into effect this year. We'll have a full year to get everybody up to speed on any changes related to that. Next slide, Izzy. So just a little bit about our funding. As you can see from these pie charts, we get about 14% of our budget from the feds. Most of our budget does come from the Delaware General Assembly allocation, and then we get a small amount of funding every year from ArtCo, which we then grant out in the form of art stabilization grants. When it comes to our spending, most of the money goes right out the door in the form of grants. Then we have about 11% of our budget we use for our programs and services, and then about 12% is overhead. We're very proud of this ratio. Next slide, Izzy. I want to thank advocates across the state and the Delaware General Assembly for increasing our budget by $2.5 million over the last few fiscal years. You can see that for quite a while we had pretty steady funding, and this increase that we started seeing a couple of fiscal years ago has really allowed us to make some significant changes at the division. Next slide, Izzy. Most important of those changes is that we've been really advertising and getting out in the community and seeing a lot of increase in the number of applications that we've received. We're able to fund more things now that we have more funding in our budget. It's really great to see that in terms of general operating support, starting in FY 2024, we've been able to fully fund the formula for the last 3 fiscal years. We've seen a huge increase in industry expenditures. We've seen a big increase in the dollars that DDOA is granting. So the increase in our budget has meant a lot in terms of us being able to keep up with demand from the sector. Next slide, Izzy. And you can see here that our grant applications have increased quite a bit. We're reviewing more grants now than ever before. We're also reviewing and approving a lot more individual artist grants, which is wonderful. We've seen a huge increase in our individual artist fellowship grants. We have increased the budget on that program quite significantly over the past couple of years, which has allowed us to both award more grants to individual artists and also increase the amount of grant dollars received by individual artists. Next slide, Izzy. We've also seen significant program growth. It's been great to increase the dollars of grant money going out the door, but it's also been wonderful to increase the number of programs that the division is offering. Next slide, Izzy. Yes, perfect. So you can see here, I'm sure many of you are familiar with a lot of these programs and services, including Delaware Scene and the statewide artist roster, our fellowship program. But in the last few years, we've added several programs, including Creative Aging and Creative Veterans, that we're really proud of and excited about. We're currently exploring a partnership with DSCYF, fondly known as the Kids Department, on a new program geared towards children and their families at DSCYF. We're also going to be launching the state's first statewide public art map later in April when we launch the division's new website. Next slide, Izzy. So the public art map is really exciting. It's interactive, it's statewide, and we're going to be promoting it widely and really tapping the community to help us identify public artworks across the state. So, the division staff has been out and scouting public art locations. We've also worked with um, the Delaware Art Museum on identifying where public art is throughout the state. But this is going to turn into a big community project where we're asking Delaware residents to input and help us identify public art in their neighborhoods. We'll also be working with the Delaware Tourism to start to create public art trails that visitors and residents can enjoy. Next slide, Izzy. And this is just obviously a sample of some of the public art that's around. So Creative Veterans is a wonderful program that has built on the success of Creative Aging. It is geared towards Delaware veterans and their caregivers. Next slide. And we have a quick video that we're going to show that's just kind of testimonial from folks that have participated. We might not have sound.
You said there was no sound.
I'm not hearing sound.
Let's see.
That's all right, Izzy. We can just go to the next slide. We can send the video around for people to watch in their emails. So, as I said, Creative Veterans is built on the very successful program called Creative Aging, which is geared towards Delawareans 55 and up. We initially partnered with the state library system to deliver this programming in every library across the state of Delaware. Its popularity has increased, and we've been able to expand creative aging to include senior centers throughout the state. And we've also received, as I said, funding from a national source to continue this programming for the next 2 years. Next slide, Izzy. So in 2025 and 2026, we've offered Creative Career Development Program presented by Dr. Elaine Luttrell from Minerva Financial Arts. This was open and at a very low cost to artists and individual creatives. And the feedback that we got from this program was really excellent. Creatives do feel like they're better prepared to make financial decisions and to understand how to operate as small businesses. Next slide. So what's next? We are always, trying to understand what challenges the sector is facing. And we know that funding and capital constraints are a real pain point for folks. We understand that there are gaps when it comes to strategic planning and business fundamentals. We know that there's been turnover of leadership and staff in the sector. It's tough because we in the arts, are not able to or have not been able to pay competitive salaries, and so we've lost people from the arts sector to other sectors. Most of our organizations have limited capacity to invest in innovation and in their workforce development. And we know that marketing, relevance, and community responsiveness are ongoing challenges for the sector. Next slide, Izzy. So we're thinking, in terms of our FY27, we would like to grow the division's team and our ability to fund the sector. Added capacity would allow us to really codify creative aging, creative veterans, and creative kids, and also provide a dedicated DelawareScene.com marketing line. I would say that this is really important because Delaware Scene it houses all of your events. Everyone is able to put their stuff on Delaware Scene for free. And so any marketing that we're doing is just amplifying your events, and it really does help with equity. There are obviously some organizations that don't have a large marketing budget, and so Delaware Scene is a great place to put your events and have, the knowledge that the state is marketing Delaware Scene on everyone's behalf. Really codifying creative aging, creative veterans, and creative kids is a goal for us. We know that that constituents throughout the state, whether they're Republican voters or Democratic voters, when it comes to public funding for the arts, anything to do with older adults, veterans, and kids is something that our constituents want to see us funding. So these are all things we have our eye on for the future. Next slide, Izzy. We are looking to expand our team a little bit next year. We know that we're kind of operating below the average when it comes to SAAs in our budget size and also SAAs in our region. Next slide, Izzy. So what we're hoping to focus on in this next year is creating a full-time government position, continue to identify additional revenue streams. We want to expand equitable arts funding. We want to continue to build out this professional development workshops and lectures series. We would like to be a part of improving the maturity of our marketing practices in the sector. And we do want to really codify an annual marketing campaign to promote Delaware Scene. Next slide. That's it. Those are our updates. Thanks, everyone. Happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. I don't think you should be allowed to say that's it because that was a little minutes wonderful. And so just sort of a little silent round of applause for Jessica's presentation and her leadership of our wonderful Division of the Arts, and also Lauren for all the leadership that she represents for the arts in the Department of Education. I think our hope, yes, there you go. Thank you, Angel. I think, I hope it's very clear. What I think we've seen over the past few years is our priority to turn arts and culture from just sort of like a feel-good tangential thing that we talk about, and help everyone understand, first of all, that we have amazing professionals working for our state in this space, who are doing highly professional work to, increase the substance of it, but also how important these areas of effort are going to be to the health and economic vitality of our state moving forward. I personally think now more than ever. So I'm very thankful for them, and all that has been done already. And, you can always feel free to throw a question in the chat, and hopefully we'll have a little time at the end for conversation and discussion. But I don't want to do short shrift to the next section of our agenda, which is new caucus business. So hearing about things that are in the works for this session to come on the creative economy. And I'm going to hand it first, I think, to the governor's office. So Nick Merlino is here for Governor Meyer to talk a bit about what's going on in the budget, and some legislation that is in development.
Thank you, Senator Lockman, and I appreciate the invitation to come and talk about some of the items that were in the governor's recommended budget. The first of which is I believe the state's first ever film tax incentive, and I think both of these kind of complement well the work that the Division of Arts is already doing in creating a creative economy and making sure that there are ways that people can self-support themselves through some of these initiatives and fostering that economy. So, but the first of that being a $10 million recommendation for a film tax incentive. The details of that are still kind of coming together. And I believe that one of the thoughts is also to kind of reimagine the Film Commission as a part of the way that this new tax incentive would be administered. And again, I think both of those things are kind of in a I wouldn't say preliminary place, but in working themselves out with our office and with members of the assembly to finalize those details. The other piece of that is a $1 million request for public art. And the way that we're thinking about this being structured is a geographic floor for each of the three counties. So there would be, at least in the proposal that we suggested, at a minimum about $220,000 for each county, and then an additional $340,000 that would be competitive. And so this would go to individual artists. There would be an application that opened up, and they would effectively apply, meeting a set kind of set criteria, and then this way we would have more public art to be able to display on the Delaware Scene website. Also give some of our artists opportunities for public installations to get their recognition up, but effectively continue to foster that environment and creative economy.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Any questions?
I do.
Oh, okay. Go for it, Rep.
This is Representative Smith. So thank you for those report outs. And Nick, my question, it might be to you, or it might be to the Division of Arts. But I have a neighbor in the 15th that is interested in painting the traffic boxes. And I know that that happens in Dover, right? So we went through the process with the county, but now we're in that next phase. So can we work with the Division of Arts, or would that also be something that is being considered for that $1 million request for public art for people to um, kind of put their name in the hat to paint those boxes?
Yeah, I'm not
So I
sure
guess it's
what
like a
that,
two-part question.
yeah, maybe Jessica might be better to answer that. I would say that based off of what we're recommending, that would definitely qualify, I think, as a project that they could apply for a grant for. But I'm not sure if Jessica or the Division of Arts has existing funding for something like that.
Yes, Representative Smith, let's have you and I talk offline about how the division can support that currently, because it sounds like that's work that's already sort of underway. Whereas this new uh, this new program from proposed by the governor is probably we're looking at next fiscal year for implementation of that. So just send me an email, Representative Smith, and we'll get on the line. We definitely have some thoughts and some guidance that we provided to Councilman Nathan Field, who did a similar project in the Trolley Square neighborhood in Wilmington. So we can talk offline and get you rolling on that.
Awesome. I'm going to have us pivot now to Fiona Aramo from the Delaware State Senate staff to talk a bit about some.
Before we do,
Oh, sorry. Go
Senator,
ahead,
if it's
Neil.
helpful to folks, the Arts Alliance wrote a backgrounder on the topic of film incentives for those that this is like a new topic for. We put all of the research that came out of the Create Plan explaining what are film incentives, and so I'm happy to link that in the chat along with the quote that the governor said in his State of the State, which, as far as I've been listening, I don't remember a governor or the governor ever actually mentioning the words creative economy in his State of the State, which I think is pretty exciting. And we should pat ourselves on the back, all of us, for using this language and using these words often and getting it out there in the drinking water. So I'll just
Mhm.
provide that resource for folks as we transition.
It's definitely sticking. Awesome. Great. Fiona, are you on?
Yes. Thank you, Senator, and thank you, Neil. So I'm here to socialize a bill that Senator Cruz, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, plans to introduce. And it was mentioned by Lauren's presentation and Jessica's presentation as a suggestion in the CREATE plan and growing the creative economy, as well as from SCR 109 in that final report. So it would be a Delaware Certificate of Arts Excellence. It sets some criteria for students, and depending if the student meets those requirements, they'd be awarded the certificate at graduation, and it will be noted on their transcript, and really just serves to align our education with Delaware's broader workforce and economic development strategy, and creating that pipeline we've been talking about from folks engaged in the arts, specifically at a young age, to further on into their post-secondary study and creative economy careers. And then Nicole Gibson is on as well to kind of talk some of the logistics for the timeline for Senator Cruz and hopefully get folks to join on as a co-sponsor if they would like. Specifically, we're looking for a House Prime.
Nice.
Hi, everyone. Nicole Gibson, Legislative Assistant to Senator Cruz. Thank you, Fiona, for filling that in. So we're hoping to see this bill in committee either next week, our first week back, so March 11th, or the following Wednesday, March 18th. And then that'll allow us to hear the bill on the floor in time for March for the Arts on March 19th. So as Fiona said, we're still looking for a House sponsor and additional co-sponsors. So legislators, please keep an eye out in your inboxes for that email from me for additional co-sponsors either by the end of this week or next week. And if you have any other questions or feedback, or even just want to look at the draft, please email me. Happy to connect on that. And I think that covers it, Fiona. Anything else we want to add?
I think that's good.
Great.
Definitely. Rep
Dr.
Dormer.
Conrad, anything you'd add just contextually? I know you're in contact with other states that have done similar work. It might just help to sort of position this with some context.
Certainly. There are 5 other states across the country who are currently utilizing a similar model. Arizona being one of them, North Carolina, Ohio are some of the others who have embarked upon this journey and had great success. So we have been in contact with the members of the state education agencies there to talk about the process and to consider options for if this moves forward for us in the state of Delaware.
And Delaware has one existing seal, similarly, Lauren, as I understand it, for other students.
Presently, there is a certificate of multiliteracy for students in the state of Delaware that has been around for quite some time, and it's facilitated by my colleague Gregory Fulkerson. And so we have utilized some of his information as well in considering what this could look like for arts students in the state of Delaware.
Wonderful.
So if legislators are interested, they'll hear from Fiona and Nicole. If advocates are like, I want to learn more about that, please know that the Arts Alliance is going to be continuing to sort of get folks involved throughout the year, have a unified sort of approach to advocate and support different pieces of legislation or give feedback. And so, yeah, please continue to be in touch with us as well.
We got a couple of reps on here now. I think officially you guys have the right of first refusal. So hopefully you reach out. And Neil, I think you had some other items you might want to mention in terms
Yeah, I
of
wanted to
legislative
give an
plan.
update on a piece of legislation that Senator, oh gosh.
Siegfried?
Yes, thank you. Introduced last year. He couldn't be here today. He is continuing to work on a piece of legislation regarding the secondary ticketing market in Delaware. So, as I understand it, the Senate bill that was introduced last year, 181, is being revised in collaboration with some advocates and the Department of Justice, which would be the implementer. This piece of legislation, if it's reintroduced and if it passes, would make significant reforms to how tickets are resold in Delaware to curb on some of the predatory practices. I mean, we all remember when Taylor Swift like broke the internet for her like Ticketmaster issues and the lack of transparency around prices. There's been a few states that have passed legislation to try and curb this. Things like preventing prospective ticket reselling, so selling a ticket that doesn't actually exist yet, um, providing transparency around fees that are on your tickets, preventing reselling at above a certain cap. So I know a lot of organizations on the call have pretty affordable tickets. This may not be something that affects you, but I have heard from some organizations like the Grand Opera House, the Freeman Stage, some of the Arden arts institutions that they regularly experience difficulties with bots buying up their tickets or really predatory reselling practices. And so if this is something that affects you, feel free to get in touch with me. We're providing feedback to the senator. And as this is introduced, we'll make sure folks stay aware.
That's great. Thank you very much. And I know we have a couple more minutes before we wrap up. If anyone has anything else they'd like to mention that they might be working on, or questions about some of the items that have already been represented. I know we had a couple other legislators who maybe are toying with some things. You don't need to necessarily test it out now, but I do hope that moving forward, our caucus can be a great space to try out ideas and to discuss them. And we are here certainly to elevate any efforts to ensure that we as a state are being the most fertile ground we can be for arts and culture.
And
So
if any legislator wants like a one-on-one briefing on that SCR 109 report, like it's going to be the main discussion of our March for the Arts Advocacy Day. We're going to have students and teachers and government leaders there talking about the issue, but it's dense. It's a lot of stuff. I think Lauren did a great job of presenting like a lot of recommendations quickly. So once we have that online somewhere, I'm happy to share it out with advocates or legislators and just get people digging into there because there are other recommendations coming out of that not just the seal for the arts that Senator Cruz has expressed interest in, but there are other significant changes that would benefit schools and students and artists. So I think that's another thing that's sort of ripe for opportunity.
It was also mentioned earlier as an option, and we've been working with Senator Huxtable specifically on some research and development for furthering arts and entertainment districts, and in collaboration with Delaware's tourism economy. And so that's in the works as well right now in more preliminary stages. We don't have a draft at this point in time to share, but also just wanted to put that on folks' radar, that that's also coming and will likely be shared uh, towards May, I think in the last Arts and Culture Caucus meeting.
Great. That's excellent. Yeah, it's been really, really cool to see the Create plan sort of get distilled into some actionable items and have those actually start moving. So great job, everybody. If no legislators have anything that they wish to add or ask, I think with, we have maybe time for a comment or two if any of our other attendees. We've got a lot of awesome arts leaders here. Maybe
Senator
one.
Lockman, do you mind if I speak
Yeah,
to the closing issues and then do questions? Just to
absolutely.
make sure we don't
Oh, yeah, to
shortchange.
make sure we don't miss that, please.
A
If you
reminder, folks, legislators should have this on their calendars. Our two in-person meetings are March 19th and May 14th. Again, that'll be focused on arts education. And then May 14th, currently planning to do a deeper dive, learning about arts and culture, arts and entertainment districts in other states. Um, Advocates can register online for that. The Arts Alliance will provide food, so we want to make sure that we get a proper head count. There's no charge to attend, but we hope you'll join us. Um, Dr. Conrad is bringing about 20 educators to March for the Arts who are choosing to leave the classroom on that day and use this as professional learning for themselves. And so we're super excited that their presence will be there, in addition to those of us who can normally join these calls in the middle of the day. And that's a really exciting progress. We also just booked the Dover High School drumline for March for the Arts. We may be toying around with the idea of doing an actual march around Legislative Hall. We don't have any legislator at the moment who's going to be our grand marshal leading our walk around Leg Hall. So if anybody's interested, we have a marching band with your name on it that we just booked this week. So exciting stuff. We'll send out information on that. So check your inboxes. And then last year, for the first time, there was a Futures in the Arts celebration. Thank you, Representative Gorman and Senator um, oh gosh, my names are just escaping me today. Um, Kira Hoffner, who joined us at Smyrna Opera House last year. We're doing the same thing this year, and everyone is invited to celebrate our graduating seniors who are going off to pursue college and career plans in the arts. And then lastly, we'll put the link in the chat, a reminder that the Create Plan is available for anyone interested in advancing this work, whether it be through government, at the state or local level, or out in the community. And we've developed a bill tracker tool at the Arts Alliance where any piece of legislation that gets introduced that has to do with arts and culture, we will have in one website that we can go and check and see the status of and see who's sponsoring it and link resources. And so we'll also share that out as a resource for advocates. Okay,
Awesome.
thank you for letting me do my plug, Senator.
No, that was great. And the good question popped into the chat during that from Nancy Curry about whether or not there will be recordings of the upcoming meetings. I know we record an all virtual one like this one. Have we been doing that with the hybrids as
We
well?
have done hybrid the last few years, and I will just say some of you have listened on the hybrid calls. The audio and video is
Iffy.
trash. So come in person if you can, but we will offer it virtually, and you can listen in to the best of your ability, and we will record it and post it on YouTube afterwards. But the best
Okay, don't need to.
experience will be in the room if you can make it.
Always, always the best experience in the room. Get a great group. Anything else before we close out?
I
Let's
was
see.
gonna ask, but since we're wrapping up, are the in-person meetings always in Dover?
So far, yes, yes. They're
Okay.
they're generally, on session days because we want to make sure that legislators are able to come in and out and see artists in person. But we've
Okay.
definitely had the request for having gatherings otherwise. But so far, our caucus meetings have really been focused on showing our strength in Legislative Hall.
Okay.
Thanks for the question.
I know for a fact that there are legislators, your peer senator, who noticed 50 or 60 of us and lunch in a room and wandered in just to be like, what's going on here? And now
Yes.
they're really active
And
caucus
then ended up
members.
champions. Yes.
Yes, so that's why I was gonna say storm the Capitol. I don't think we can say
Oh,
that
yeah,
anymore.
don't say that, but
That's why we that's why we take the voyage to Dover for that purpose, take one.
exactly.
I think if there's no other questions, we'll just close by thanking the legislators on the call who have really led to these wins that we've talked about. I mean, the budget increase of the past few years, the resolution that we passed, this could not have been possible without champions who are elected officials leading this work for us. And it
Yeah.
could not be possible without the other, 30, 25 people who are on this call and others who show up to make sure that we're keeping our issues at the forefront of the minds of our elected officials. And perhaps Representative Gorman, I can put you on this spot to share something you told me earlier, which is you have so many issues you deal with on a week-to-week basis, right? Help us understand how the arts fits into that sort of a portfolio for you. I know that you've told me it's a bit of a bright spot now.
It is. No, thank you so much. No, what I think the exact quote is it is the thing that brings joy into all of the work that I'm doing. Particularly in heavy and challenging times, knowing that getting to interact with artists, getting to interact with people, involved in art, is, it's never not a highlight, and usually it's the best thing in my week. And I was recently able to judge the Poetry Out Loud contest, which was, I recommend anyone who's never been to one of those to totally go because it's so incredible. These young people are amazing. But the one of the things that I've just been reciting in my mind over and over is each of the kids who was a finalist got to say why poetry was important to them. And the young woman who ultimately ended up winning said that poetry was her dignity. And like, to me, like, that just says everything about what you can give your constituents. Arts is dignity. And so I love everything that everyone on this call is doing, and it's always just such a pleasure to listen, and I always leave feeling, excited and energized. So thank you all.
Amen to
And one
that.
more
Great.
reason, one more reason to be excited for March for the Arts is we just confirmed that the winner of Poetry Out Loud will be present on that day and able to perform for us too. So
She's amazing.
yeah.
Well, to be continued on that day, and I look forward to seeing everyone. Thank you again for everything that you do. Have a good one.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.